had an experience with somebody who's having a conversation with you and something is not right? Do you ever feel that? Yeah? It's pretty common. Well, they sound angry, but they're trying to be kind. Have you had that experience? And it's like, or they're apologising for the way they're speaking because they can't hear it themselves. They're saying, I didn't mean it that way, I didn't mean it that way. So the human voice conveys information to us about language, about the meaning of things, and sometimes it completely is blocked and stuck and painful, and it stops the person from communicating altogether. They actually don't want to speak because they feel tired or they feel not heard. So there's the emotional compound to speaking as well as the physical aspect of how it feels, how your throat feels and how much energy it takes you to speak. With the same human voice, we can start a war and we can also say, I love you at the same time. And yet people feel mostly unheard. Most of us are walking around saying, I've been misunderstood or I'm not heard. Aren't people getting it? So communication is a big subject. And there are non-verbal aspects of communication that are affecting us every day in our professional and personal relationships. So in any communication, it's always not only just your voice, but it's the way you're thinking, the way you feel, your positioning, who you think you are in the organisation, if you appreciate it or not, if you think you know it or you don't understand the information. How you're feeling affects how you speak. And the third thing is the messaging. The experience that our customers have, our relationships have, both professionally and personally, and even with ourselves, believe it or not. Our own internal dialogue affects how we feel. So voice tone is something you can do something about if you have a wider awareness. And often voice tone is about the context rather than the content. It's the context in which you're in that affects that content you're trying to deliver. Research has shown that 80 to 90% of our communication is actually non-verbal and is more important than words. And it takes only 7 seconds for a perception to be built around our non-verbal language. And I call voice tone non-verbal because it's not the words, it's the tone that we speak with. It's the level of empathy we have in our words and the sense of, do I feel connected to this person? Now, a robot doesn't go through that, right? They just program it not to do that. But we as humans, we love that aspects of people. We love that authenticity. We like to see, for example, a singer making a little croaky error in their voice. We like to see the organic aspect of speaking. A little or can I say that again, is actually quite natural. How you think affects your larynx, okay? So the nervous system will go through the vagus nerves, it goes through the laryngeal nerve, which is recurrent laryngeal nerve, and then it activates the vocal cords and changes the quality of them, and therefore you start to sound different. Whoever notices their voice changing, yeah? How does it change?
When you start the day, sometimes need a coffee to warm up because the voice is really not being engaged for 8 hours.
Yeah. So that's an acoustic thing. What about emotionally? When somebody's nervous or uncomfortable? How do you, I can't see your name.
Oh, Laura, sorry.
Laura, explain that to us. How do you feel?
I don't know, when you're nervous, you just sort of, you speak softer, you don't speak as confidently, you just sort of say what you need to say and move on.
Yeah. So you're not as strong and you're not as forward. So if our customers are hearing that, sometimes that could happen. Or you could put your professional hat on and, you know, I've got to do the content. I've got to deliver the content. And you start to sound a bit robotic because that's not natural now, because your heart's beating at the same time and you're feeling very uncomfortable, but you're delivering information that you're not even congruent with. Have you ever had that experience? I hear those stories all the time. I'm having to talk to my manager, but I don't really want to talk to her. And so when I talk to her, my voice starts to wobble on me or it starts to crack. It's very, very interesting. How much our emotions and our psychology is invested in this wonderful organ of the soul, or the voice. So speaking with emotion influences tone, transmits meaning. Voice tone is sonic, it's actually vibrational. What you're hearing is vibrations. You're hearing confidence, control, friendliness, leadership. They can trust you or not. Do you sound too young? Too immature? Do you sound too bossy? Do you sound unapproachable? Not maybe you, but just some of the staff and some of the people around you, some of your family members. Immediately, as soon as you hear that voice, you want to talk to them. Because a voice without a face is another complication, isn't it? You're only hearing a voice on a phone. There is no face. I can't put more information to that voice. So I know somebody who speaks very aggressively. When you look at his face, I know he doesn't mean it. Do you ever get that feeling? It's just culture. They speak aggressively, but you look at their face and you think, no, they're okay. But if this person's on a telephone, it'll be probably a different story and not known, like some of our customers. They don't know us personally. So just being aware. So what I want to do today is really raise awareness. And the coaching I do is around these topics. The people that come to me will ring me up and say, I've been told by my manager that I sound intimidating. But they're talking to me very friendly and they're very soft. I've been told by my manager that I sound very intimidating. And I said, but you don't sound intimidating right now. So what kind of mood are you in when you're speaking? And they say, I never thought of that. So then I get them to think about the mood that they might have been in. Or they say to me, when I'm speaking, I feel like I'm speaking too fast. And then I say, how are you feeling when you're speaking? And they might be nervous, so it's making them speak too fast. Or they've had too many coffees before their presentation. For example, today, I do not have a coffee before I do my presentation because I know that'll make me speak too fast. That's me. I'm not saying it's for you, but there are different things that we eat that affects our emotion and triggers our voice and our presentation and how at ease you feel. The Japanese people read the air. This chart is the work of Erin Meyer. It's called the culture map. So based on that topic we just talked about before, you can see that some countries are more high context and some countries are more low context, right? So they'll be content driven and some are context driven. We are moving more, as a conscious society, we are moving more to context. The reason why I say that, there are things happening in our world right now that unless you get into context, we're going to miss it. What's going to define us, the difference between us and robots and artificial intelligence and digital information will be that we are more context. That's what I was trying to say before. If you get into mindfulness, meditation, any of those areas, the arts, which we're all trying to move towards because we all need to get rid of stress, right? We're all burnout. We're trying to do these artistic and different things. We want to have more fun in the workplace. That's context. We're going to be reading people differently. We're going to be reading between the lines rather than just the words on the paper. So we're going to notice the white spaces, not the black. Do you see that? Can you see the white and the black? We are the white, not the black. When you start to see that, you'll start to actually activate the brain in bigger ways. You have to see more. It's a very exciting time, I think now more than ever. There's the opportunities now more than ever coming into the workplace and in our personal lives where we can access other ways of thinking. That the Japanese teach their children from when they're young to read between the lines, and they believe that if they're able to do that, they're more intelligent. Whereas we in Australia, or America, we basically teach our children to read the words on the paper. One of my teachers said to me, the little child asked, he was holding a rose, and he asked the child asked the father, what is this, Dad? And he said, It's known to be a rose. How beautiful is that? It's known to be a rose. He didn't say it is a rose. He left that up to the child to decide. Because in that simple language, by saying that, we are basically telling people this is how it is, and we're closing any other possible options. Now, I understand that we have some rules and some things that we really need to stick with, but in a lot of spaces in communication, perhaps, and I'm not sure if you're using scripts at work, but perhaps it's to let people express themselves in their own way and get that message across in their own way, using their emotion, and that they're aware of that. So we are choosing our leaders often because of the way they sound when they're speaking, the way they present themselves. So this research was very, very interesting, and that they're actually charismatic leaders who are intelligent with their voice are actually using it to persuade statistics. So we know this from Margaret Thatcher. We know she hired a coach to help her improve her voice. Women particularly who've had to step up in leadership are finding that need to change the sound of their voice. Young girls who are coming up in their 20s who've still got a very young voice will be treated young because their voice tone doesn't reflect who they are. So have a listen to Margaret Thatcher. Let's see if I can get this right.
I've been so busy that I haven't had really much time to think about it. After all, I know I'm still only me, and so do my family. But I'm very much aware of the responsibilities, and a little bit apprehensive. Who wouldn't be, when you think of the names that I follow?
Let me answer that very deeply, because I feel very strongly about it. The greatest divisions this nation has ever seen were the conflicts of trade unions towards the end of a Labour government.
There you go. So a major difference in her voice tone after she hired an actual actor, an acting coach, to help her change her everyday breathiness. She knew her voice wasn't working for her. So, you know the emotion thing I was talking about? It goes both ways. Not only do you feel it, but others feel it. So sometimes you're growing both ways. You're growing both emotionally when you're stepping up into leadership, and then your voice, you realise, I don't have the right voice for this role. I don't know if you've ever experienced that. Have you ever experienced that? Anybody that you know? There are people not having the right voice for the jobs they're doing. I mean, I've spoken to people on the phone that they're dealing with a big subject and they sound like a child. It makes me feel a little bit concerned. I don't completely trust them, especially when I don't have a face in front of me. The voice problems can be anything to do that restricts your ability to communicate empathetically, energetically, congruently, and even freely to want to do your work. When you have a throat problem, and if you had a pain in your leg, would you want to walk up and down the stairs all the time? If you had an irritation in your body, what do you think would come first? Your attention has to go to your body first. It's not fair to put it on others when you can't put it on yourself. It's normal for somebody to say, I'm feeling really hoarse. What they did with this report is that they interviewed the managers and the team leaders, and the team leaders and managers did report, as I know happens here too, that we do all sorts of trainings and induction, but we never do voice work. There's a lack of awareness of voice work. They then said, we believe we need to do some voice work with our staff. We need to raise awareness around how emotion or also physicality of voice is important in the workplace, because your voice is being used for work. And we should give you some resources there. Right, and every day we're doing this, right? Look, breath. Now some of us are only breathing this much, okay? So if there's anxiety, we only breathe a little, or we lack exercise. We're not really getting the whole breath. In Latin, breathing means to inspire, and to breathe out is to expire. So inspire, Take in life, expire, take out death. Got it? Carbon monoxide. Many of us actually hold our breath. Notice, it's not the intake of the air, it's more the holding of the breath that's the issue. There's this constant hold. Every time there's an issue, you hold the breath. You go pick up something and you hold the breath. Something happens, you're in a rush, you're holding the breath. Just notice, I deliberately do the opposite. I'm moving around quickly, breathing out. I'm keeping in mind that I'm holding the breath. We naturally hold the breath. We're holding in toxic carbon monoxide. When we're holding the breath, we cannot take a breath in. We can't take one in. We can't take one in, and people say they're breathless because they're not taking in a breath. They can't because they're holding the other breath. So exercise helps you get rid of the breath, but even just walking, breathing out. Why don't we just practice that now? Just let the air out. Get it right out. So in order to breathe, you've got to get it out. So I challenge you today, urge you today, to really look at breathing out. If you breathe out, you can breathe in. When we breathe in, that's life. We're breathing in life. Oxygen, our brain can think better. I really believe a lot of our issues today is because we're holding the breath. It goes into the straw, right? Do you feel your stomach muscles? Do you feel the tightness in your solar plexus here? And use your voice, not just the air. Yeah, it's as if you're, right, so that will get rid of things like coughing, huskiness, fatigue, pain, because the air pressure is going back down and the air pressure is coming back up. So it actually is a fantastic exercise to do. And even in a glass of water with water, if you put it in a glass of water with water, you'll see the bubbles in there as you're doing it. And if the bubbles are going, it means you're not breathing evenly. Every consultant had a straw at their desk and just did from low to high. What am I going? I'm from low. I'm just really just stretching my vocal cords. I'm stretching and I'm getting all those tones out, and I'm also activating my stomach muscles at the same time, and I'm doing my breathing. It's everything at once.